The NBA Finals, we're one game in. What is the story so far? I think it's Karl-Anthony Towns, but maybe it really is just Jalen Brunson. And then the annual Adam Silver Finals press conference had a couple surprises in it, some good details. We're going to break that all down with Marc Stein on today's All-NBA show. What is up, everybody, and welcome to the All-NBA show powered by FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet at FanDuel.com/AllCity. I'm your host, Adam Mares. I'm joined by my esteemed colleague, one of the busiest men in the world, doing all the work behind the scenes. It's Marc Stein. Stein, how you doing today?
Adam Mares, I agree with you. I think Karl-Anthony Towns was the story of Game 1.
And
I don't, listen, is it the best game he's ever played statistically? No, he certainly had gaudier stat lines. But I would say, given the stakes and given the way Victor Wembanyama imposes himself on the average NBA game, that was as good a game as Towns has ever played. Given the stakes, he went at Victor Wembanyama. He showed you, even without, he didn't do it with three ball and stretching the floor. He showed a level of mobility you don't normally see from a guy that big. He attacked Victor. He stood up to him at both ends. And that's not a small thing, because one of my favorite stats going into these finals, stole this one from my old pal, John Hollinger. When Victor Wembanyama plays 20 minutes or more, the Spurs were 39-5 going into that game.
That's crazy.
So, they rarely lose when Victor Wembanyama is out there for
how many
his
minutes?
Usual. Only 20.
More than 20 minutes?
More than 20. 39-5 in their last 44 playoffs and regular season included. So to me,
man,
the most important stat, Towns only got 4 fouls. If he stays out of foul trouble and can play like that, the Knicks have something for sure.
They really do.
I only wanted to talk Brunson because I'm much more well versed in his career. But yeah, shout out to KAT.
Well, I thought it'd be a fun way to set the stage, because I think both guys are a story right now, and it is kind of interesting, this Knicks run that they're on and how everything's come together, because this has been the story for the Knicks since they got Karl-Anthony Towns. Was two really good players, is the fit right? And I think for a long time you could say it did feel a little bit like KAT had to sacrifice in Brunson, and is it really the best use of the resources like that? But somewhere this season, and I would say it was in December, somewhere around the halfway point of the year, it started to come together in a way that was really impressive, and now it's culminating here with a 1-0 lead in the NBA Finals. But for me, I'm a romantic about basketball, in that I like the stories when a player has a redemption arc. And I think that KAT, was the butt of jokes for parts of his career about being just a little bit coming up short of maybe what his perceived potential should be. But what I like about this playoffs, and really over the last handful of years, is there's so many good players in the NBA that there's a lot to do about matchups and fit, and about optimizing and finding a way to optimize your skill set. And right now, Karl-Anthony Towns, Wembanyama has been best in the world, the poster child, everything else. Karl-Anthony Towns ran through the Eastern Conference playoffs, and now he's going up against the new face of the league, and at least in one game was clearly the better player and won the matchup. And to me, I just love this arc about a player like in KAT, finally getting some of the credit of this that his skill set deserves. And so that's why I framed it that way. Brunson has also been awesome and is doing the thing we all knew he could do, which is lead in the clutch. So to me, I was framing it that way more to say there's two great Knicks stories, and I like both of them equally. What are you hearing most from people though in the league? Like what side of that, the KAT or Brunson part, has created more conversation?
I think Brunson has been talked about more just because the impact that he has made as a Knick. And look, and it might also be a byproduct of where I live. You have to realize, Adam,
I do.
That
okay.
On the same day in 1998, the Mavericks acquired the draft rights to Dirk Nowitzki and swung a trade for Steve Nash, 2 MVPs on the same day. They had a very checkered draft history over the next 20 years. And then 20 years later, 2018, in the same draft, they trade for the draft rights to Luka Doncic and then get Jalen Brunson at number 33, second round, only 8 picks ahead of your guy Jokic.
Man.
And the Mavs, out of those 4 guys, only one of them finished his career as a Dallas Maverick. So there's a lot of pain where I live because Brunson, it's not just remarkable what he does at his size, the surgeon he's become offensively, the way he finds every hole in defenses, even when they look like they're not there. He's still getting better. He's been gone for 4 seasons and he still is finding ways to get better, which shouldn't happen for a guy who, is he ever going to win an MVP? Probably not, but he's in the MVP conversation every year. He is an undeniable franchise player. And to just see how much Knicks fans love him, there's been this nonstop dialogue. If the Knicks win this series, is he the greatest Knick ever? That's a question that's routinely posed now. And you have to think about the great players that were on those Knicks teams in 70 and 73 when they won a couple championships. And like, because Jalen Brunson is undoing decades and decades of hurt, this is the way that New Yorkers talk about this guy. And it is a remarkable story, and he's a lovable guy. You can't help but root for this guy.
It is true, and the point I think about it is all great players, are beloved by their fan base, or almost all, because they're great. And ultimately what fans want is for you to elevate the franchise and give them these experiences. But some connect a little bit more, and I think Dirk was one of these. But Jalen Brunson in New York, man, is such a perfect fit because it's not just that he is delivering them this phenomenal era of basketball and now potentially their first championship in 50 years, but he also just fits the part, man. He has this coolness to him. And when I say coolness, I mean calm and cool and collected, that you just always believe in him. And I think that is the experience of watching the Knicks this playoff run has been, you always feel like they have a chance. And I think after that game 1 against the Cavs, you really feel like they always have a chance no matter the odds. And it's because of him. And there's all these great players. And KAT, like I said, I think he was the hero of game 1 in a lot of ways. But Brunson is the guy that when it gets to that point, you're like, he's going to do it. He's going to deliver him. And that's just a different level of connection to your fan base. But I have to ask you about, did you see this coming?
Oh, God, no. Not this. Now, all-star, leader, yes. I mean,
you saw the leadership part even?
Oh, yeah, because look, his last act as a Maverick, remember, Luka missed the first 3 games of that playoff run. Mavs go to the conference finals in 2022. Jalen Brunson in back-to-back games went for 41 and 31, and it might have been 0 turnovers or 1 turnover. I mean, the stats are ridiculous when you go back and look at those 2 games. And he staked Dallas to a 2-1 lead without Luka Doncic. And he was great playing with Luka Doncic. You see now Jalen Brunson wants to run his own team. You want the ball in his hands. You want him to have a high usage rate. But in Dallas, he had to play off Luka a lot. He was great at that. And, there's so much consternation to this day because the Mavs had so many chances to re-sign him. He was eligible. That's going into that season, the 21-22 season. Both he and Dorian Finney-Smith were eligible for these 4-year, $55 million extensions. And the Mavs held off because they thought they might need to trade one or both at the trade deadline. And that obviously was a huge mistake in itself. But as that season went on, by the trade deadline in 2022, it was apparent that Jalen Brunson was going to go to free agency and get a much larger deal than 55 over 4. And at that point, the Mavs tried again. They finally tried to get him to sign it. They finally offered to him. And the Brunson camp basically laughed at them and said, we'll take our chances in free agency now. You guys had your chance. But the Mavs still had a chance. And people forget this, that at that draft, the Knicks shed a ton of salary. So that's a week before free agency. From the moment the Knicks started shedding salary, everybody was fearful at this point that he's going to the Knicks now. The Knicks are going to offer him $100-ish million over 4. and he wants to go to the Knicks. They hired his father to Tom Thibodeau's coaching staff. But the Mavs still had the option at that point of picking up the phone and saying, Jalen, we completely screwed this up. We are deeply sorry. We've disrespected you. We're going to offer you now. We want to make good. We want to make this right. We're going to offer you 150 over 5. They even could have gone, I believe the max was actually 175 over 5. That would have still been a bargain. Now, we didn't know then. You can't say we knew then that Brunson was going to be what he has become now. But even then, at 150 over 5 or 175 over 5, I don't think those were outrageous offers for Brunson. He after what he had just shown in those playoffs, he was worth it. And if the Mavs had done that, and now maybe Jalen Brunson says, you know what, I want to go to the Knicks, I want to go anyway. But if you offer 50 million more than the Knicks were going to offer, he's got to at least take that on board and say, wait a sec, do I really want to pass on this? And so that's where I think the Mavs really blundered. They had the wherewithal to give blow Jalen Brunson away offer, and they didn't do it. And to me, obviously with the benefit of hindsight and 2020 hindsight, that was really the mistake that they made. Because if they re-signed him, they either could have kept him with Luka or their phone would have been ringing off the hook with trade offers, and they would have had so much better optionality. Now, they were able to go out and get Kyrie, so they saved themselves to a degree because they were able to trade for Kyrie and still made the finals without Jalen Brunson. But losing Jalen Brunson for nothing, when you combine that with how the Luka trade turned out, like I said, where I live, there's a lot of pain when the Knicks are on television.
I think two-part things come into this that I think are interesting with this current NBA. One, you just can't make mistakes. It feels like it's so hard to build a contender right now, and I know teams can rise and fall, but one mistake like that is so hard to bounce back from. And the other part of this is, you mentioned him being a second-round pick. This is, you draft a guy at 5, and then you draft a guy at 35. And if they both turn out to be the same player, there is this selection bias of, well, we have to invest in the first round guy and the lottery guy. And I think the success stories around the league are teams that were able to find out that their later picks were better than their earlier picks and just move on from them. But that's such a hard thing to do. And I see it over and over again. High profile players like Brunson or Jokic are different, but there's a lot of like, hey, could this guy be a starter, the 5th best player on our roster? And you have a guy that was a lottery pick and you have a guy that was a second rounder, and teams almost always take the lottery pick. And I wonder if you think that played into the Brunson piece of this at all. You knew he was good, but if it was almost diminished in part because of where he was selected. And
no, to me, there is no explanation and there is no defense. Like Jalen Brunson, again, go look at the playoffs. Go look at his stats in the Utah series. He went for 41 and 31 in back-to-back games without Luka Doncic. Right there. Like,
yeah.
Again, everything that happened to that point, there were mistakes on both sides. Both sides can quibble, whatever, blah, blah. But from that point, the Mavericks had to know this dude is a player. And whether we're going to keep him next to Luka or not, we can't lose him for nothing. We have to re-sign him, even if it's more expensive than we want to pay, because the message was sent with the way Jalen Brunson played in that Utah series. And again, if the Mavs, we don't know the outcome. Jalen Brunson might have still said, you know what, I want to be a Knick so bad, I'm taking their offer 100 over 4. But at that point, you got to go to Jalen Brunson. I mean, Mark Cuban did an interview with me on TV in Dallas after the Mavericks were eliminated. And Mark Cuban said, we can pay him more than anybody. They knew they could pay him more than anybody. And the minute they realized that losing Brunson to the Knicks for nothing was a real thing, to me, the Mavs' only play at that point was to go to Brunson and say, we are going to give you every cent we can and hope that offer blew him away. And it's a what if that we'll never be able to answer because it didn't happen.
Yeah.
And they lost him for nothing.
It does feel a little bit like a history repeating itself. Like, yeah, I love how you set the table with Dirk and Nash and then over to Luka and Brunson here. Let me ask this one. This finals have been great. Victor Wembanyama in the playoffs has, become, I think, the face of the league. Like his star has exploded in the way I think a lot of people anticipated, but I think he clearly is intriguing to the casual sports fan, and the numbers and the ratings are reflecting it. And then you got the Knicks on the other side. So this is, to me, Adam Silver's dream. You get the face of the league, and you get one of the biggest markets in the league. And I keep thinking about the league has to be happy with how things have unfolded and happy. You see the ticket prices in New York for this game. They're just through the roof. But I keep thinking that I think the best outcome from a narrative standpoint is the Knicks winning, because it allows for Wemby. Everybody sees Wemby coming, but it creates an entire arc going into next year of Wemby coming up close. He got a taste of it, and now the question is, how does he respond? Does he ascend to the throne? So what do you hear from the league just in terms of the excitement that they got this finals this year, and it just feels big?
They don't want to they don't want to admit that, but of course, I mean, this,
how could they not?
They're getting a historic outcome no matter what. You're either getting Wemby's first title, and we assume it will not be his last if he can win in his third year in the NBA, or you get the Knicks ending the weightiest, heaviest drought that the league has ever seen, with the Knicks not having won a championship for more than 50 years. So the NBA cannot lose with this finals.
I think the Knicks piece of this that's underrated too is that I shouldn't say nobody, very few people were picking the Knicks to win this year. And if they do win, and by the way, currently on the most dominant playoff run in history, if you just look at net rating, I do think there gives a sense of hope around the league of like, hey man, it just has to come together for your team. Because most years, by mid-season, you can predict either the winner or the runner-up. You could say it's going to be one of these two, maybe three teams. The Knicks, to me, were probably like the fourth or fifth team people were picking at that point in the season, and now they have ascended to this juggernaut. And I actually think that's good for the league. It's good for me personally, as a Nuggets fan, who you want to have some kind of hope for your team. And when you see a team struggle for portions, get it together, and then make a run, it's like, okay, anything's possible.
I mean,
don't you think? I'm asking you this one personally. Like, just that usually you can see it coming, and I do feel like this is one that kind of emerged late.
Well, my take on the whole season has been with the Spurs, like, this was a great year to be inexperienced because the West was vulnerable. And like, I think if we rewind to the start of the season, I think we expected the West to be really, really, really tough, and Denver to be a monster, and Minnesota to be a monster after a couple conference finals appearances. And, the Lakers had a really high ceiling if they could have, and which I do think we saw in March when they had everybody there and everybody good. The West was more vulnerable, I think, than anticipated, and San Antonio was able to capitalize on that. But it's funny. Did you hear the answer? Did you hear the answer that Wemby gave in French when he was asked by the French reporter to kind of talk about how the Spurs are attacking this series and where they are? And he said something like, one of the issues with their youth is, they are inexperienced, and they have this tendency to they only kind of react well when they've lost. And that's something that he sees as an issue with this team and something he's worried about. And I'm paraphrasing it. I'm not getting it exactly right. I'll try to look up the quote the next time you speak and see if I can get it exactly right. But he basically said something to the effect that that's one of the issues with our inexperience, is that we tend to react after something bad has happened in the playoffs instead of being proactive or getting in front of it.
That is such an interesting thing. He does. I mean,
I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna get it right so I can actually tell you what he said.
The thing about Wemby, he really is so like he has the maturity of a veteran player in a lot of ways, not in all ways, because some of this you just have to go through the experience. But that is a very forward-thinking answer, to identify that trait for your team. I mean, he would know better than me. They have responded and even punched first really well in their previous round, so it is a little bit surprising to me. But I will say this, I'm very excited to find out how they respond tonight, because you elevate things to the final stage, which just feels bigger. As you know, there's more media around. It just feels more prestigious. There's more things going on. And I am curious to see, they've responded all playoffs. I am curious to see what kind of effort they get tonight. Not really effort, because I think the effort will be there, but what kind of attention to detail they'll have, if there's any panic to them.
So he was asked in French, what needs to happen for you to stop being a reactionary team, a team that only finds solutions after running into problems? Even if you're the best at it, it can be both a strength and a weakness. And Wemby's answer, this was in French, this is the translation that I'm seeing. Definitely, I completely agree. I think it's due to both our lack of experience and our youth, especially since we're playing against experienced teams. To me, the two best examples are Minnesota and New York. They understand how fortunate they are to be in the finals, and they know it's not guaranteed they'll ever get another chance like this. Man. As for us, we're kind of like spoiled kids. For some reason, it's our first season or one of our first seasons, and we're already in the finals. We don't fully realize it yet. And to me, the team that appreciates the position we're in the most will be the one that wins.
Man,
so obviously Minnesota was not in the finals, but otherwise
yeah. What a great quote, though, man, coming from such a young dude. This guy,
he's a mature thought. Yeah, he's a mature, thoughtful dude. But they better win. They better win tonight.
It's true, man. They better win tonight. Legs, we were talking to Legs, and he's like, look, man, if you go down 0-2, I don't see you winning in New York. The first finals game, in 26 years. I don't imagine that's going to be the toughest road game of the Spurs' life. So you have to be in position for you to at least just split when you go to New York. Let's take a break, because what I really want to ask you about is Adam Silver's comments. He keeps giving up more information about what's around the corner, including NBA Europe and a host of other things. And so I want to hear what he had to say and what your interpretation is on the other side. Quince, you guys know it's time to upgrade your everyday essentials. Fewer pieces, but better materials. This time of year always makes you want to rethink your closet. If you're trying to get fewer things, but better ones, pieces that are well made and easy to wear all the time, you got to check out Quince. By the way, this is a thing you do as you get older. You stop buying just tons of cheap clothing. You want to buy things that are going to last you for, a decade plus. At Quince, you get a wide variety of apparel, like everything, every different style you could possibly want. But what's nice is it's high quality everyday essentials like premium materials, European linen, flow knit activewear fabric, linen pants and shirts, lightweight, breathable, comfortable. They have all kinds of things. The cool part about quince.com is the prices are 50 to 60% less than similar brands. How do they do it? Quince works directly with ethical factories and cuts out the middlemen, so you're paying for quality, not brand markup. Everything is designed to last and makes getting dressed easy. So refresh your wardrobe with Quince. Go to quince.com/allNBA. Make sure you go that way. Quince.com/allNBA. If you've never checked this out, check them out. I promise you're going to be very intrigued. You get free shipping and 365-day returns when you go to quince.com/allNBA. Now they're available in Canada too. Go to quince.com/allNBA for free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/allNBA. Also want to tell you guys about Kalshi. The playoffs are underway. That's the most electric time in basketball. In Kalshi, you can trade every single playoff game, every series, the conference finals, and the championship. Right now, as I refresh on Kalshi, it's almost an even split. New York, 54%. They're trading at 54%. San Antonio, 47%. So the market has not fully shifted on this one. What's cool about Kalshi is you're trading against peers in a live market, meaning there's no house, and as the probability changes, you can buy in and out of your position. For a limited time, download the Kalshi app and use code ALLNBA to get $10 when you trade 10. KALSHI, Kalshi. Trade on anything. 18 plus only. Restrictions and eligibility requirements apply. Event contract trading involves risk and may not be suitable for all investors. Prices, value, and available markets may differ from those mentioned. For more information, see kalshi.com/regulatory. All right, back here on the All-NBA show, I'm with Marc Stein. Before we get to the Adam Silver comments, I'm going to ask you one thing that I've just heard talking to people from my end around the league, which is if you look at the NBA draft, there's a lot of players in the mid to late first and especially in the second round who are going back to school in part because they're getting these giant NIL deals. And we've seen the evolution of NIL at the college level for a while. I believe this is going to have an impact on the draft because you usually can get really good value late in the first, and you probably still can. There's diamonds in the rough everywhere. But if you're getting 10, 11, 12 players that are projected from mid first to mid second going back into the draft, I have to imagine it thins out the quality of talent coming into the league. And so is that something you're hearing around the league that, hey, man, NIL is affecting your ability to find diamonds in the rough mid to late first round?
Yeah, I think teams in the 20 to 40 range, there is concern about how much talent is going to be available. And look, the draft is something that, like, the changes are so, because obviously you have on one side the NIL changes and players being able to command salaries in certain cases that are better than what they can get on the rookie scale. And that's why you see some players choosing to stay in school for an extra year. Now there's good parts about that, because players who do stay an extra year, you always hear NBA teams saying, we wish players were coming to us more experienced, more maturity in their game. So I think there are some good parts about that. But yeah, it does weaken potentially weak. We'll have to see when the draft actually happens if that's the way it turns out. But there's so much to learn about this new draft landscape, because again, the new lottery odds it's not for sure, it could change the value of picks and how willing teams are to trade them. And you hear a lot of chatter now that suddenly a lot starting next season, a lottery pick projected in the 4 to even 16 range is going to be more valuable than it's ever been, because of the chance that you win the lottery with it. So there's so much to learn about this new draft landscape. And then you also remember that we don't even know what the lottery rules will look like after 2029. All we know about is how it's going to be in these next 3 drafts with these new flattened lottery odds and this complete change to the lottery system. But yeah, I think all teams are trying to work through this stuff and get this better feel for the landscape. I think they have a better feel than we do on the outside. I think on the outside, we're trying to play catch up a lot more. But yeah, I mean, the way that the draft is going to play out now, I think it is going to be different.
I think so too, and maybe it'll correct. It's so funny watching the evolution where college and the NBA have always been separate, but they almost felt like they worked together. And you go back 30 years, you watched a player come up, and then they get excited for them in the NBA. That has not been the case for the last 20, 25 years, and maybe this NIL will do exactly, because as you were talking, I'm thinking, yeah. Those players, it's not that they're not coming to the draft, they're just delaying it because they have the safety net of making $6, $7, $8 million in college. So they're not in a rush to get to the NBA. But maybe the long-term fallout from that is you get more polished players. You do what the college used to do, which is prepare players for the NBA. So we'll see. We'll see if that's how it plays out. But let's get to the big topic here, which is Adam Silver's annual NBA Finals press conference. We've heard from him so much this year. I feel more than ever. But what was the biggest thing that he said in that press conference, in your opinion?
Well, look, we didn't get definitive word on where things stand with the Clippers and the aspiration investigation. Adam Silver said, yes, it has to be winding down at some point, but a definitive word on when we're going to get that ruling and the findings of that investigation that the league has commissioned, we still don't know that yet. And on expansion, he said, we will have our answer by year's end, but they're not ready to tell us if they are for sure expanding to Vegas and Seattle. That's the assumption, that's the likelihood, but that's something they're going to take all of 2026 to kind of come to a ruling on. The most definitive word we got was NBA Europe. He says it is going to start in the 27-28 season.
Almost 1 year from today. It's insane.
I mean, basically a year and change away. And it's going, they are still talking to the EuroLeague. But remember, the EuroLeague is a 20-team league with 13 A-licensed teams. And those all if there was some sort of merger, if the NBA and the EuroLeague come together, the EuroLeague wants all of its teams in NBA Europe. That is not going to happen. NBA Europe is going to be a 16-team league. It's going to have 12 fixed teams that stay
Relegation.
in the league, and then it's going to have there's going to be a pathway for 4 other qualifiers, and then every year there's going to be promotion and relegation. And so, in my view, the league has to they have to have some of the established teams and fan bases from EuroLeague to have a chance of success. But how many we're actually going to see at the end of the day, I don't know. And Adam Silver says that basically by fall, they'll be able to say who's getting these bids and the precise cities, and it's going to be fascinating, man. I mean, it's a minor story on our shores for at some level, because obviously the focus in the United States is always going to be on the NBA and domestic matters. But like this is a huge thing in world basketball, and there's still more questions than answers.
Does this feel like one of Adam Silver's big missions? You know, like it feels like this is a thing that's extremely important to him. And I'm not going to say legacy player, what have you, but it does feel like this is part of his grand vision. You know, he's solving a lot of problems as they pop up. That's part of the commissioner's job. But some of this is, I have a vision for where I want this to be in 10, 15 years. And this one seems like right in the middle of that.
They think that this is a tremendous business opportunity. And that is a big part of this. Like, they think that European basketball is not reaching its potential. And with the NBA's league running ability married to the product, that is going to lead to great things. But look, there is skepticism without Europe that it's going to be as successful as the NBA thinks. And I think we've talked about this before. I'm going to, how much I love going to England as an English soccer junkie. I go there every year, and the thought of NBA affiliated franchises in London and Manchester, of course, I love that idea. I can't wait to see it. But I'm also curious how well supported essentially expansion teams in those cities are going to be compared to, in Greece, you have Olympiacos and Panathinaikos, the storied rivalry. In Spain, you have Real Madrid and Barcelona. Like, how many of those rivalries are we going to get in NBA Europe? Are we only going to have one team from Greece? Are there going to be 2? Is there only be one from Turkey? Are we going to see 2? Like, can they get both of the Spanish giants in the league? And, there are so many things that we don't know yet. But, that, again, at Adam Silver's press conference, there were a lot of updates on things. But the thing he said that is full steam is NBA Europe. He says it is starting. Basically, it's one season away.
You said you had a surprise, though, for me from this one, or a surprise topic, and I'm curious.
It's an interesting topic to me that I wanted to throw at you to get your take on it, because Adam Silver did field a question about this and admitted the league is having real trouble coming up with something to name in David Stern's honor. David Stern was the commissioner of this league for 30 years. And so the challenge the NBA has is finding something that is sufficiently significant to put David Stern's name on it, because he is the most significant commissioner in NBA and the longest serving commissioner in NBA history. So, like, you can't name the NBA Cup after David Stern. That's not enough. It's not enough.
Also, I'm sure he would hate that if he was around.
Well, it's funny because years and years ago, I remember Adam Silver just throwing out, what if we called it the Stern Cup? He was just spitballing. It wasn't like a serious thing, but like, that's not it. Like, I think the league knows that's not enough. But the reason I'm bringing this up, because now we're in the finals, what also amazes me is the Larry O'Brien, like everybody calls it, the Larry O'Brien, the LOB. Yep. Like, because Larry O'Brien's commissionership was not anywhere nearly as impactful as David Stern. So I've always thought, we've seen trophies renamed in other sports. Why can't they change the Larry O'Brien trophy to the David Stern trophy? But the Larry O'Brien trophy is so ingrained in the lexicon.
Yeah, you can't do it.
You hear Wemby talking about it.
Yeah.
I just, like, not that we need to solve it today, but I just thought it was interesting that Adam Silver actually addressed that they don't know how to solve that. And like, what can in the conference finals, the NBA Finals trophy now named after Bill Russell. The Conference Finals trophies are named after Larry and is Magic the All-Star trophy?
I think it's
Magic might be the All-Star trophy. So they've named.
Well, you just identified one of the problems though with doing this when things have already been established is that then you rename them and it's hard to remember what it is because or you create something like that. This isn't a fascinating one because you are right that Larry O'Brien might be the most. Outside of Michael Jordan, it might be the most famous name in basketball, but not for his commission because he's the commissioner because he got named. The award got named after him. The trophy. That's a big honor.
Remember, the league was not in great shape when David Stern took over as commissioner.
He deserves something great, man, to be honest with you. He does deserve something, to be commemorated in that way. I'll say this. My initial thought was, I also know as part of the lottery reform, Adam Silver has the ability to personally penalize a team. Like there's subjective power in this. I think there should be the stern punishment. That's what we'll call it. That should be what we rename is. It's like, what was it? The death penalty in college? You should get the stern ban. If Adam Silver has to hand out the stern ban because the team was tanking too hard, that would honor him appropriately.
Am I muted or can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Oh, good, because I had a.
You don't like my idea for the stern penalty?
No, I got it. Well, yeah. That was. Sorry, I had a phone malfunction, so I didn't hear everything you were saying there. I thought I'm glad I did not get fully disconnected as I feared.
Yeah, I do. I will be curious to see, and they have handed out a lot of naming, rights to a lot of these trophies lately. So I don't know. And I'll just say this: it cannot be the NBA Cup. You cannot do it. That's not a David Stern thing. I don't think you can give him that one. Is there anything else?
No, like I said, I just that was a curveball that I just wanted to throw at you to see. To see where you stood on it, because it's when they will come up with something, but it's got to be significant. But again, this is also just a commentary on just how the Larry O'Brien or the LOB has just become such a part of the NBA language.
Might be the biggest part of Larry O'Brien's legacy, man. It's incredible. Cue that outro music there for us, Atticus. Guys, we have a surprise show for you tomorrow because Jason Timpf and I are going to be waiting to break down Game 2, which happens tonight. So we added an extra show for the weekend. You're going to want to make sure you check it out. And easy way to do that, especially on the weekend when your rhythm is a little different, make sure you're subscribed to the podcast. This is both a YouTube show and a podcast, and you can always get us on the go on whatever podcast app you're streaming on. Check out the Marc Stein on the Stein Line, his Substack. You can also catch him on the DLLS Mavs show on YouTube as well as a podcast. And they have a big decision to make in free agency and with their draft picks here coming up. So lots of stuff to talk about over there. Thanks so much for hanging out with us, guys. Hit the like button. Make sure you're checking out our draft profiles. I think we have like 11 or 12 up already. Almost the entire lottery. We got these 5-minute draft profiles from our guy, Will Gottlieb, that you're going to love. Make sure you check those out. Enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy the finals, and we'll be back tomorrow. We'll see you.
We all silly like the mayor.